at what point is the pilgrim supposed to make or to begin the state of Ikram, or to make the intention? Does he do it before or after entering Mecca?
It is out of the compassion of God that He did not require beginning that state of Ihram, at least the procedures and restrictions that you have to follow during this period from the moment you leave your home. That's not required. Because if this is so, some people might be traveling for a longer period of times, and it's quite restrictive, as I will be describing later. There are certain things that you should do or you shouldn't do during that period. For that reason, the stage where you should really be fully in the state of Ihram or intention begins in specified locations called the Mawaqit, ranging between 100 to 500 kilometers outside of Mecca, depending on which direction you're traveling from, whether you're coming from north, south, east, west. You cannot pass that point, which is very close to Mecca, without really being fully in the attire and the state of intention to perform the pilgrimage. Of course, if some people are traveling by plane, you could start that state or rite while you're in the air. Some people go to the airport in Jeddah, which is still south of Mecca, far enough to start making again or initiating the process of pilgrimage.
Now, how does a person express the intention, or how do you enter the state of Ikram? I mean, is there any particular thing that an individual has to do, any particular rite or any particular observance that's needed or necessary?
What is more important than rite is the intention. Because in Islam, every deed really should be preceded by intention. A person, before doing anything, should always think why he's doing that and get it in his heart. He doesn't have to utter certain words, but he has to have the clear intention in his heart of why he's doing this. In this case, then, one would have the intention that he is beginning to perform this required worship out of obedience and submission to the will of God and in the pursuit of his pleasures. But in addition to this, it's also desirable, before the person really put on the ihram clothes or attire that you see on me today, is to take a bath first, clean himself thoroughly or herself, and then after that a person should put away all his regular clothing, because during pilgrimage, at least for the specific period where you're really in the state of performing the rites, a Muslim is not supposed to wear his normal or usual clothing. And this is a very simple thing. It's basically like two pieces of towels, just two straight pieces. One of them could be wrapped around the waist, like this. You can just wrap them around you, a couple of rounds, and then twist it so that it may hold. There is nothing wrong also using a belt if need be to hold it. But personally, I didn't use a belt. I just wrapped it and twisted. And then the second sheet is just like this one, which is held on one side and put on the right shoulder, leaving the left shoulder exposed. In addition to this, a person also should not wear his regular shoes, anything that he's used to, getting away from that routine. Most people would wear something like sandals, pair of sandals, but in any case, the heels should always be exposed. And also for the male, he's not supposed to cover his head during the period of pilgrimage, unless of course the person is sick or something is of dire need, but otherwise this is all that one needs. And there should be nothing worn or sewn clothing underneath this. In other words, just one wrapped around the body and the other one covering the upper part of the body. Very simple, very straightforward.
Now, how about the ladies, the women? Do they wear the same attire as the males?
Well, for women, they have a concession because, as you know, for women there is in Islam a requirement for more modesty than men in comparative terms. They can, for example, let parts of their body being exposed. A Muslim woman is supposed to cover her body except for the face and hands. So they're giving the concession. They are not restricted by this because, as you know, if you have unsewn clothing, you can't really have proper and complete cover of the body. So they can wear anything they like, but they're not supposed to cover their face or hands. In fact, Islam does not make it a requirement in Hajj or pilgrimage or otherwise that the woman cover her face or hand. This sometimes are customs, but that's not required, and more so in the case of pilgrimage, she's not supposed to do that. But she can cover her head. Mm-hmm. But still, in keeping in the spirit of pilgrimage, of simplicity, it should not be clothing that show off either the body or show off of wealth. Mm-hmm. In other words, it has to be a simple garment, loose, that covers entire body except for face and hand, and preferably even just simple white material, so that the sense of equality would be felt by all those who are doing pilgrimage.
I wonder if perhaps you could take some time to explain the significance of this attire and why it is that a pilgrim is required to take off his ordinary clothes.
Okay. First of all, when we talk about clothes, usually we use that as a symbol of our individuality, a symbol of our personal ego. Clothing, in a way, also is regarded as a symbol of authority, various attires, authority, power, wealth, and all of these. When the person is going for pilgrimage, which is a very high and pure act of worship to God, of devotion to Him, this kind of egotistic things really should be forgotten for the time being. It's a training on the individual, a reminder for him that you could be a king or a common man, you could be rich or poor, you could be male or female, but don't you forget that the essence of you is your humanity. You're a human above all. So by casting away the normal clothing that you have, the symbols of this, all these false symbols that some people usually take as expression of superiority, you put that away and just be a human. This way you find everybody, the rich, the poor, people from different professions. You can get a professor, medical doctor,
janitor. Lawyer would have to take off his three-piece suit.
Exactly. So whether it's three-piece suit or whatever, everybody is the same, and everybody wearing the very same simple material. This is really an expression in a practical manifestation, a practical way of the true essence of human brotherhood and equality.
Now, over and above the observance of this attire, are there other things which have to be observed?
Certainly. That's why I mentioned earlier that the specific restrictions are limited, in fact, because you can do things only when you're entering the state of consecration, the state of intention. That's why it's not required from the moment you leave your home. At least some of them are not. But the things that are especially emphasized is that one should abstain from any disruptive act. He should always watch himself or herself. In fact, one verse in the Quran describes that beautifully. It says that pilgrimage is done in a certain or appointed times, and whoever is going for that pilgrimage, he should totally abstain from any indecency in words or deeds. Actually, that's required also outside of Hajj, but again, one has to be particularly careful during that period. Shouldn't get into any argument or violence. But it is not only limited to how man or mankind, using that in generic terms, relate to other human beings, but even relating to the environment, relating to other creatures, he has also to be at perfect peace. During that period, for example, when you start the rites of pilgrimage, lesser or minor, lesser or major, you're not supposed to engage in any hunting, for example. You can't hunt. You can't kill an animal. You can't kill even an insect. The only exception, of course, if there is something that threatens your life and you have to defend yourself, but otherwise you have to be at perfect peace with the rest of the creature. But not only living things, even trees, you're not supposed to cut. You can't cut even a twig of a tree while you're in that state, and there are penalties for that, to atone for this. Even trimming your fingers, your nails, you can't do that.